Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the IndiTrade Capital Limited Q3 FY21 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal for an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Sudeep Bandyopadhyay, Group Chairman, IndiTrade. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for joining this investor call of IndiTrade Capital. I'm pleased to take you through the Q3 numbers of IndiTrade Capital. Before we move to the numbers, I'd like to advise you that during the quarter, we were in a position to add some public sector undertakings as our lenders. SIDBI, of course, came in last quarter. We had SBI CAPS, we had Punjab National Bank, and also after the end of the quarter, we got NABARD to come in as a lender for our multiple businesses. During the quarter under reference, as on 31st December, our total AUM stands at 417 crore. The balance sheet size as on 31st December was 559 crore. Gross total income for the quarter was 78 crore. PBT was 4.7 crore. The detailed financial statement has been shared already in the site and in the investor presentation, so I will not get into each item. Of course, I will be happy to answer all your queries once I'm through. The balance sheet details, again, I will not getting into right now. If somebody has a question, I'll be happy to answer. We have broadly 4 businesses. One is microfinance, second is MSME, third is microloan, and fourth is agri-commodity. The portfolio as on 31st December for the respective segments, microfinance was 203 crores, MSME was 59 crores, microloan 96 crores, and agri-commodity 59 crore. There has been healthy developments on agri, micro, MSME, and even microloan segments. Our gross total income, while the AUM has come down marginally between Q2 and Q3, the gross total income has gone up. PBT has moved up marginally from 4.3 crore last quarter to 4.7 crore this quarter. PAT is marginally lower on account of deferred tax adjustment. Our cost of borrowings is coming down fortunately. Microfinance has come down to 13.9, MSME is down to 11.25%, and agri to 8.5%. We have been adopting, as usual, a very conservative policy on provisions. MSME segment gross NPA is 5.84, whereas net NPA is 2.51. Microfinance gross NPA is 1.45%. There is no net NPA. Microloan and agri-commodity, there is no gross or net NPA. The main reason for the microloan NPA not being there is we write off well before the regulatory stipulated period. We write off the entire amount of doubt. Same for agri-commodity. Portfolio and debt details on a consolidated basis we have shared with you just to provide you a snapshot of how leveraged we are, and you would have seen that we have maintained a very healthy debt equity ratio. Healthy in a very, very conservative way, I would say. Our debt equity ratio is less than 1. It was 0.87 on 30th September and now it's 0.88. And solvency ratio, if you don't include DAPTC partnership, which is actually not in our books, then our solvency ratio has improved from 51 to 48%. In other words, Even if 52% of whatever assets we have go bad, still we are solvent. Portfolio detail, breakup we have provided. In microfinance, we have 168 crore of own portfolio and 35 crore of managed, making it a total of 203. In MSME, we have 36 crore of own and 23 crore of managed, making it 59 crore total. Micro loan and agri loan, 96 and 59 is our own portfolio. There is no managed portfolio. Overall portfolio share, microfinance continues to be the dominant business with 49% of portfolio share. Other businesses constitute 51%. We have in the presentation uploaded in the BSE site provided you a segment-wise breakup of businesses, how each and every business has performed, when these businesses were launched, and what has been the growth in AUM and disbursement quarter on quarter. I will just like to highlight a couple of things. We have been extremely conservative throughout our journey, and we continue to maintain that conservatism, and that you will get reflected, you'll see reflected in our AUM as well as disbursement management. While we are cautiously optimistic on the economic recovery, we are, as I said, cautiously optimistic. So microfinance, our disbursement in Q2 was 16.31 crore, which has moved to 30.33 crore in Q3. We are hoping to make much bigger disbursement in Q4, but we are measuring and taking cautious steps. In micro loans, our disbursements had gone up and AUM had gone up during Q3, but because of multiple environmental reasons, we have slowed down disbursement in Q4. Agri commodity has been a good story in Q3. Our AUM has gone up from 44 to almost 60 crores, and disbursements moved up from 13 crore to 33 crores. MSME has been steady and stable. We are progressing in MSME, but again we have been cautious. Disbursement was minuscule in Q2, 1.76 crore. That has moved to 5.44 crore during the Q3. Overall AUM, because of repayments, have come down from 67 crore to 59 crore. Very briefly, that's where we are. As far as collections are concerned, before I complete my part, collections have been improving on a continuous basis. As far as microfinance are concerned, we last month collected, that is in January, we collected about 97% of demand. In MSME, we collected about 93% of demand. Agri, I think, is 100%, there is no issues. Micro loan, of course, there has been a lot of challenges, but however, the situation is not as grim as media and otherwise it's being painted, and as I mentioned, we have been extremely conservative. Thank you very much. I think with this I will complete my monologue, and we will be very happy to answer questions which investors may be having. I have with me my colleague, Mrs. Jhuma Guha, who is the director of the company, and Mr. Naveen Jain, who is our group CFO. We also have Mr. Vinod Mohan on the call, who is our company secretary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask a question, please press star and 1. The first question is from the line of Ruby Rex, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Sir, could you give? Hi, sir. Sir, could you give us a brief breakup about the other expenses, sir, and why is it risen so much quarter on quarter when the interest income is only doubled or less than doubled? The other income, other expenses has like tripled actually. Could you give a top breakup also of the subheadings if possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you, this is straightforward. In fact, I think I had last quarter briefly explained. I will explain in detail. This is pertaining to our microloans business. Just before I go into the details, I will also like to tell you that remember that our microloan business is carried out in two buckets. One is our own platform, which is RoboCash, which is managed entirely in-house. There is no third party involved here. Everything is ours. There is another segment where we work with digital lending partners, and there are two of them who does three broad things. They source customers, they provide the platform with the artificial intelligence and machine learning capability, and they also recover the money. Our job as an NBFC is to assess the credit and provide the loan. So the loan is in our book, we give the loan, we assess the credit, we do ensure that the KYC is proper, but sourcing customer, providing the intelligence and the technology platform, which includes the digital lending app as well as the web version and collection, is the responsibility of the partner. So these are the two broad buckets. Now what happens is, when the amount of lending goes up through the digital lending partners, the expenses also goes up. Why? Because in this segment, please remember, customer sourcing cost, there is a significant sourcing cost. I'll give you some brief idea from an actual data which I'm reading out. We use Whistle, which is a WhatsApp platform which sends messages to customers, potential customers. We use Facebook, we use Google, we use Netcore, Screeno, LeadCash, Intellect Ads, Mobax. So these are the multiple platforms, apps we use for sourcing customers. The Facebook is the most costliest, and the Facebook cost, overall, I would say customer acquisition cost at our stage, in fact last quarter we calculated it's about $1,300 per customer. That is the customer acquisition cost. The other part of the cost in a microloan is the server. Data is in cloud, computation is happening there, so it's an AWS, Amazon Web Service cost. There are transactional SMS which goes to the customer again and again, whether it's sanction of the loan, whether it's is repayments due and all that. Then there's a credit bureau cost. Every customer we have to check the credit score and all. Then there is transaction cost, which is the digital lending partners like PayU, CC Avenues, Razorpay, all this. Then there is KYC cost. You check the Aadhaar API, QAG and all that. So there is a cost in that. So whenever there is a spurt in micro loans, which is what has happened during the last quarter, there is a significant cost increase. Now if you ask me what we have earned by doing this micro loan, we have earned about 2 crore net. I'm just telling you the figure.
Okay.
You understand what is happening. So
yes, sir.
We have slowed down. We have slowed down this business for different reasons, and I'm sure there will be some questions on that, and I explained that. But I'll tell you, if this had, the business doubles next year, the cost also will be, may not double because we'll start getting the benefit of scale, but it will be significant increase in cost. The revenue you make will not be directly proportional, profit you have will not be directly proportional to the revenue, because along with revenue there is a cost also.
Okay, got it, sir. Sir, could you give breakup of the RoboCash AUM within the microloans? And also,
I will give you that. On 31st December, the AUM of 95 crore was the AUM of microloans, and 73 crore was digital lending partners, 22 crore was RoboCash.
Okay.
Okay, so if you see the presentation which we have uploaded, you will find 95.77 crore was the micro loan in AUM on 31st December 20, and 73 was digital lending partner, 22 was our own robo. That has now come down to 55 crore, 33 crore with external partners, and our book we have maintained roughly at same levels.
Okay. Got it, sir. So one more question is, how is the performance of the Scale Later been, sir? Is there any quantifiable measure you can quantify it, sir?
Well, I think Scale Later is, very honestly still to make a profit. We do business performance measurement on a individual business and segment wise. They haven't yet started making money for the group, but we are extremely hopeful that by February, March they will start making money. They have shown excellent signs. Month on month, the revenue has grown significantly, but they are yet to break even on a SBU level.
Okay. But we can't give a revenue breakup and anything like that, sir, gentlemen?
Yeah, I can't give a revenue breakup. Just give me some time. Meanwhile, I'll request Naveen to get those figures. I'll answer some other questions, but I'll come back and give you the answer.
Okay, sir. I have some more questions. I'll come back in the queue, sir. Thank you.
Please come back in the queue. Meanwhile, I'll ask you to find out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Saurav Singhvi, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes,
yeah, you are audible.
Right. So congratulations, first of all, for the results, and this is the first time that I'm joining the con call. So I was looking into the results and also of the past performances, and the first question which came to my mind was, what do you think in terms of the value for the shareholders that's been created? I'm not talking in perspective of the price in the market of the share, but otherwise. Because when I see the results, I always see that bottom line, I do not see that to be growing. It is always staggered. Take it for the past performance. The revenue has always been equal to the expenses, more or less, right? So bottom line has not grown. On top of that, the segment that the business was always focusing. So I do not know how much is the focus, because I see a shift in focus. Earlier we used to focus a lot on agri-commodity, then our focus also went to the microfinance, then the MSE, and now we are talking about the micro loans and the associated expenses that you mentioned, right? So as a shareholder and looking out for the value, I just wanted to understand the focus that the general focus that is shifted from time to time, the reason for that, and what are we going to do in the future so that the bottom line actually grows and there is a value created. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining the call. And I really appreciate these questions because, if you ask, then you'll only know. I think you need to check the results. Since last 5 years, we have been continuously growing the profitability. I'll explain the micro loan, and I think I understand because you haven't joined earlier. Micro loan segment didn't exist, and micro loan segment profitability is very low. So because there was a question on micro loan by Dubey, I answered that. It is not that is the main segment or we have shifted our focus to micro loans. Naveen will just give me the figures and I'll tell you quarter on quarter, year on year, from what profitability we have moved to what profitability. Every quarter we have grown. And fortunately or unfortunately, the COVID year, which is what the current year is, the profitability vis-a-vis last year is down, obviously, because we have been aggressively taking provisions, and we are being conservative. Otherwise, if you see the year before, from compared to that, last financial year, the profit almost doubled. And I don't have the exact figures, I'll get you those figures, because those are old figures, I don't remember that. And current year, yes, there is a COVID and there is a challenge. 6-8 months there was no business, but still we have quarter on quarter grown, managed and grown the book also. That's point number one. Point number two is, It is not that our focus has been shifting from very beginning, and I understand because you are joining for the first time. We have articulated from day one what our strategy is, and that continues to be our strategy. And I'm happy as a shareholder, you want to know what is the plan for long-term value creation. It is the segments which are not catered to by large institutions and banks, we are trying to cater to that. We started with agri, which is again a very large segment, and please remember when I say agri, there is a huge distinction between pre-harvest and post-harvest. Banks and institutions give pre-harvest. Post-harvest credit for against agri commodities is very limited. So we play in that segment. There are challenges, there are inefficiencies in the system, and that's why we are cautious, because we don't want to be the shaheed there by doing something funny. So we are cautious. We picked up microfinance because we wanted to work with rural women, and we again believe that's a huge segment. Companies are and would do well in that segment. That's another segment again which is not catered to by large banks and institutions. Yes, there are large microfinance players, but they are playing in the same playing field. MSME, we moved into, this is all I'm talking about 4 or 5 years back. Again, MSME we moved because it is not a typical MSME. We cater to, again, the segments which are not catered by others, which is the kirana shops. The typical mom and pop shops, those are the guys we lend to. And it is a cash flow based lending. We assess their cash flow. It's not a secured lending. All this I'm talking about is not secured lending, cash flow based lending, and we do that. Microloan, again, the digital lending or microloan, whatever you call, we started our platform way back in January 19, when I think environment was much friendlier, positive, and this is for predominantly gig economy workers, a Ola Uber driver, a food delivery boy, a retail store worker, people whose salary is between let's say 15 to 30,000 to meet their short-term requirements. This is the segment we started. So consistently we are focused on segments which are not catered to by large players. These are small borrowers. They don't have all the balance sheets and net worth to support their financial requirements. Based on their cash flows, we assess their need and give them loans. That's the segment, and we believe there is a tremendous value. Unfortunately, there has been a COVID, and I can't justify through this year's figures vis-a-vis last year, but the year before and last year, you will get your justification. The consolidated figure, if you see on 18-19, we made a profit of 14.27, and last year, which is 19-20, we made a profit of 20.76 crore, and this year 9 months it is 12.38. That's where we are. The year before we sold our equity broking business and made an extraordinary profit of 7 crore. So as far as the company is concerned, the businesses of the company, last 3 years I'm talking about, it has grown from profit of 14.27, last year went to 20.76, and this year, in a COVID year, 9 months, we are 12.38. Does that reasonably answer your question?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I could see the jump in profits for sure. I was also concerned about, the parallel expenses that we are incurring, whether it is on salaries or whether
I'll explain once again. It is not an expense, that's not a single paisa. This is, in a manufacturing company, what has happened, I was explaining, this is cost of, manufacturing. So if you are in digital lending using partners, you have to use, how do you acquire customers? You have to advertise on Facebook. You have to advertise on Google. So there's a cost to that. So if you want to acquire 1 million customers, you have to spend maybe 100 crore. So this is directly related, what you want to do with that. Now this quarter, we have, I will explain in detail later, we have reduced that business. So the expense will come down. Again, one quarter we want to increase it, that will go up. But we are making money. The point is we are making money in that segment. Now, for making that money, there is an expense. In isolation, if you see the expense, obviously it will be high, but the revenue has just gone up. Okay?
Right.
Thank you.
Right. So just a final comment maybe from you. I understand the core business of ours is to take the money and then lend it. So do you see that the curve of interest rate has gone down for us? I mean, the lending rates, do you see that has gone down or will tremendously go down given that there is high liquidity persisting in the market right now? Because I think that is where we will get our fish, right?
Saurabhji, I think this I have been explaining every quarter. In fact, I know you have come first. So I'll just tell you once again. See, our cost of fund in the agri business is about 8.5%. In microfinance, it has been continuously coming down. It is now 13.9. The last few borrowings have been below 10. That's below 10%. In MSME, our cost has come down to 11.25%. It's also come down from the earlier quarter significantly. So cost has come down. Now, if you ask me whether it will come down further, based on my analysis, personal analysis, I think there is very little scope for interest rates to come down further in the economy. We will benefit because we will still, for multiple reasons, we will be able to reduce our costs even from here. Because in microfinance, which is one of our main businesses, normally PSUs don't lend to you unless you have completed 3 years. We completed 3 years on 31st March 2020. So that's the reason we have been able to progressively go and borrow from PSUs and bring down the rates. Which is why microfinance, cost, if I remember rightly, it used to be about 15. It has come to 13.5 now. Recently, we have been raising money from PSUs at around 10%. Okay? Thank you.
Right. Appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Abhishek Katod, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, this is Abhishek. I just wanted to give some suggestion. The PPT, whichever you have presented for, you have used it. It is not. We are not getting a full kind of a details entry when you compare to with the Credit Gramin Access or Spanda. So you can little work on it. If you need more details, what we need as a investor, so we can always mail you guys.
No, I have access to that. Thank you. I take your point. We will do. I'll tell you why our PPT is slightly different. Fortunately, Credit Access is a kind of single business. Their entire thing is microfinance. Ours is there are 3-4 segments. Okay, but I take your point. We will give more information, even if it may not be. I will do that. I think.
That will be helpful. So granular level will be.
Yeah, we'll do that. We have access to all the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Chitresh Lunawat from Gartner. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. This is Chitresh here. Am I audible?
Yeah, Chitresh, we can hear you.
Yes, sir. So my question was, sir, like for digital loans first, have we disbursed around 340 crores this particular quarter for digital business? As per the presentation, last presentation it was around 190, and this time it's around 530 crores. So is this the disbursement amount? Am I getting it right or?
I just checked this amount. We calculate at where is the figure? See, we know this book as on, about 528 crores, cumulative.
Yes, and last time it was around 190, so we have done around 300 odd crores.
I'll tell you, Chitresh, in this, we don't focus too much on disbursement because, our RoboCash, we started a 15-day product. So let's say RoboCash last quarter, I don't have the exact figure how much we disbursed because we don't track that way. The figure will be exactly double this quarter. You understand? Assuming your investors don't stand still, the same money rotating twice, because it was 30 days, we made it 15 days. And the 15-day product was in demand much more. The amount of disbursal is not too relevant for us, but yeah, okay.
No, so I just wanted to get the run rate. So like it's around 100 crores every month we are disbursing in particular digital loans. So
yes, we were. You're right.
Okay. So going forward, sir, like how much increase in share do you see from third party to our own app? Like when we are giving, so we would have acquired some serious number of customers, right? When we are distributing disbursing around 300 crores, when we are giving loan of only around 10,000, 15,000. So how much benefit do you see we getting from that, and they coming to our platform? Like how is that? How are we working on that migration?
Yeah, you are absolutely right, Chitresh, and I think you remember what I had told many quarters back, that the whole strategy was to acquire more and more customers by using third-party digital lending partners, and I think we have done a decent job of that, and I'm very hopeful that, see, what we have done is we have already started terminating, and I'm hopeful that in another 3 months, probably by 31st March, we will be able to terminate all the digital lending partners and move the entire business in-house. So maybe on the next financial year Q1, everything will be in-house. That's the internal target. We will move everything. We already have terminated about four partners. We have already terminated. We still are working with 3 more, but we will gradually move out of that as well. So you're absolutely bang on. That's the whole strategy.
Okay, sir. And so going forward also our run rate would be similar, like 100 crores plus every month, or we are gonna...
Unfortunately, Chitresh, what has happened, I'm sure you guys are aware, there's a whole lot of this, a lot of people are not following the right practices, and there's so much of, the noise around it. So we have slowed down significantly this quarter. And I'm sure you're aware, RBI has appointed a committee to formulate, most probably guidelines will come within the next 3-4 months. So I will wait for that before I start scaling up and increase disbursement. Let the RBI guideline come, let it be even more or better regulated. And I'm very hopeful. Some of you will remember how microfinance was and what microfinance has become post RBI guideline. So I am very hopeful that this sector will be a winner post the RBI guideline coming in.
Okay. And sir, how do we have control over the digital partners, sir? Like the information they give to customer, whether it is correct or not? Because normally we see a lot of complaints, right? Those digital partners promise something and then customers get something else as a packet. So how do we have a control over them, like for this kind of customer-centric issue?
No, we have a full control, Chitresh. What happens is in this, they source the customers. Giving loan is our decision. Platform is there, so the algo is running on their engine, intelligence engine. But whether we want to give or not, all customer details, everything is with us. And the collection, whatever collection necessary, they have to collect. So that's how we operate with digital lending partners. And this is in terms of the RBI guidelines. RBI, I think, took out a guideline in June last year. And we follow that guideline. Under that guideline, we have signed with all these guys. And everything is monitored. We have a formal process of complaint kind of addressal. If I remember rightly, last week we were looking at the position because we had our board meeting. I think out of in RoboCash, there were 36 complaints, and I think 35 of them had been addressed already. 1 was pending. And now most of the complaints are because if the customer doesn't pay, we have to report to CIBIL. They don't get the fresh loan. So, the challenge, because then they start complaining, why have you kind of reported me to CIBIL and this and that. And as far as digital lending partners are concerned, there were 131 complaints. And this is about as of last week. And 119 of them were addressed. So,
okay.
We monitor it and there's every month, there's a system, internal system, every Monday, whatever complaint is pending gets highlighted to us and all that. So we get to take this very seriously.
Okay. Sure, sir. Because we are just a 30-member teams, and I thought there would be lakhs of customers, so like how we are able to manage. So
This is the advantage, Chitresh, of digital. Everything is on the click of a button. So everything comes and it's managed pretty efficiently, I would say.
Okay. So going forward, we'll see a little bit of slowdown as we are waiting for RBI guidelines. So next quarter onwards, the digital lending loans would be a bit lesser. That's what I get.
Q4, this digital lending contribution, digital lending will be significantly lower. I'm hoping this will get ramped up again in Q1 of next fiscal.
Okay. So now coming to microfinance, sir, now how is the situation, and by when do we think we can go to the previous run rate of 50 to 70 crores per month kind of disbursement? And
February we should be doing about 40. And this is futuristic statement, so please, this is subject to so many things. We are targeting a 40 crore disbursement in February. March also we should be able to do slightly higher than that, 50-60 crore we should be able to do in March. See, there are two things, Chitresh, here. One is we need to be cautious. We have reached, after a lot of effort, almost 97-98% collection efficiency. We want to be back where we were, 99 plus. We don't want to take any risk. Being slow and steady is better. If you guys remember that we were the fastest growing microfinance company consistently for, I think, 1.5 years before COVID. Post-COVID, we have kind of slowed down. Obviously, we don't want to be the heroes in this situation. But yes, this quarter there will be significantly more disbursement in microfinance.
And how about the liquidity, sir? Is the money available as we want, or?
Yeah, for us, money is available. I won't say, it is, we are flush with funds. I'm talking about microfinance specifically. But we are getting money. We just got from NABARD a sanction of 30 crores, am I right? 30 crores at a very attractive interest rate. A couple of other large institutions are, also have given a sanction. We raised from PNB 15 crores at a very attractive interest rate. It's all happening, I think. And I told you guys earlier only that this year our focus will be on raising money from PSUs and reduce the cost significantly, which is exactly what is happening. Yeah, COVID was a big disappointment, and plans got pushed back by 6-7 months, but it's happening now.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. I'll wait in the question queue for other questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question is from the line of Kapil Bhatt, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Hi, Sudeep. I'm just looking at the AUM for last 4 quarters, including the quarter 3. It has been, coming down every quarter. So I just want to know, in next 1 year, where do we see the AUM and how we're going to ramp it up?
So, Kapil, I think as you know, Q4 last year was where the COVID hit us. So we were at about 455 crore of AUM. And after that, obviously, there were not much disbursal in Q1 because of COVID. Same for Q2. So why this AUM came down is because repayments were happening. So portfolio was, coming down. The disbursement have just started picking up, and it's I think somewhere the disbursement figures are also there quarter on quarter, and you will see that disbursements have started picking up now. And I'm hoping that this quarter the disbursement will be significantly higher compared to last quarter. Now, If you ask me 1 year, I can give some figure, but I'm not very confident that that figure will be right. I'll tell you why. I'm bullish. I'm extremely bullish. I think we have seen the last of COVID-related problems, but it's better to be cautious. So we are, taking caution. As I said, we are cautiously optimistic. So I will not like to go and, I think Chitresh was asking how much you will disburse. I will not disburse 100 crore monthly now. I'll be comfortable with 50-60 crore monthly disbursement. We will watch one more quarter, maybe pick up pace from first quarter of next fiscal. Yeah?
Okay. So for the microfinance, you said, I think in February and March, we'll be doing around close to 100 crores. And in January,
that's the target.
Yeah, so in January, we must have done, I think, at a similar level. So can we expect for the microfinance in quarter 4, we'll be doing around 120, 130 crores of disbursement?
Well, I'll tell you what, January what we have done, I can share the figure. January we have done 25. And, these 2 quarters, you can say roughly around between 110 to 130, somewhere we will end up.
Okay, good. Yeah, and I think on the MSME, we haven't talked much about the MSME. So can you tell me how the picture in the MSME sector? Are we still slowing down, or are we going to start disbursing more?
No, we have started disbursing more. We are positive. If you see, there is a presentation slide, MSME Finance, specifically. Q2, we disbursed only 1.76 crores. Last quarter, we had disbursed 5.44 crores. And I am hoping this quarter, we will do about 20-25 crores. So we have significantly pressed the accelerator here. But again, I'll be cautious. I'll not to become a cowboy here. I'll be cautious.
Right.
The pain in MSME is real. It is not a political thing one way or the other. The pain is real. So we have to be extremely selective and careful while taking fresh exposure on MSME.
Okay, cool. So I think in quarter 3 we did around 102 crores of disbursement in all 4 verticals. Yeah. So quarter 4, I think we'll be looking at around maybe 160, 170 crores in all 4 quarters, all 4 verticals.
Sure, we should. Yeah, you're right, we should.
Right, good. Okay, and just one more question on the presentation. You in the portfolio performance, you now added the disbursement and collection of microloans are shown on net basis. So can you just explain that what is net basis means?
So net basis means what happens is when there is a Naveen, would you like to explain that? Yeah, let Naveen explain. Naveen is my CFO. Let Naveen explain exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is if you see the total disbursement minus total collection. Other numbers we have shown separately, like disbursement we have shown separately in microfinance, MSME, in agri-commodity. But if you see the micro loans, the tenure is not more than 15 days. So instead of showing separate numbers, we are showing a net number. The disbursement we have done, and that minus, I'm reducing the number by collection we have, the amount which we have collected in the quarter 3. So net disbursement in the current quarter is 33.17, because the tenure of the loan is very small. Like tenure of the loan is not more than 15 days.
Okay. And is that the reason why we haven't showed any principal collected in quarter 3 for microloans?
Yeah, obviously. It's showing net, no?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's good. And I think, as you said, as we are moving away from the partners in microloans and going in-house, so I think our other expenses will come down significantly, and it will help our bottom line. Is that correct?
Kapil, that's the ultimate goal, but I'm not saying that it will come down. See, what happens is, I think one of our friends here made a comment that you have 30-40 people and you manage this. See, remember here the number of, in an MSME, in a microfinance, I've got close to 1,000 people. So there's a people cost. In this business, I'll not have 1,000 people, I have 50, 60, 100 people maximum. But there will be these costs which will not come in as a salary or an employee benefit, but will sit in whatever other expense or something, because we'll spend on digital acquisition. And please, I think most of you are aware, digital advertisement is costlier than putting an advertisement in Times of India and Economic Times these days.
Okay.
So cost of customer acquisition will be there. So yes, it will come down because it will be more under our control. We'll monitor everything closely, and of course our benefit will be much more if it's our direct acquisition and direct everything.
Right. So as you said, in last quarter, 2 crores from micro loans, and we almost collected interest of 52 or 53 crores. So out of 53 crores, our only profit was 2 crores.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an expense, huh? See,
yes. Okay.
So turnover is not a profit. So I'm talking about profit. So no company's turnover is profit. Turnover is turnover, profit is profit.
Right. So for the micro loan, just for the micro loans, what will be our margins? Like how are the names for the micro loans?
See, let me answer this at two levels. We aim for about 4% in all our businesses. We end up, if you ask me, are we at 4 anywhere? I don't think we are at 4 anywhere. We end up anywhere between 2 to 3.5% nowadays, NIM. That's where we are. Agri, we probably try for get 2.5 to 3% nowadays. Microfinance, we are struggling to take it to 3.5. We are still at around 3%. MSME, we are at about 3.5. So that's where we are, NIM.
Right. Okay. And in next 1 year or so, can we see the improvement in the NIMs in all the 4 sectors or all the 4 verticals?
Improvement in, sorry?
NIMs.
Yes and no, but NIM, I think above 4% NIM, I don't think will be possible. I tell you, let's say microfinance. The microfinance is a regulated business. RBI regulation very clearly says your margin cannot be more than 10%.
Right.
That's the thing. So the formulas and all that, I'm not getting into the details. Guys who back microfinance are aware. So if it's a margin is 10%, you have 6-7% costs. So end of the day, you end up with 3-4. I think best of the companies will have 3-4%. That's where it is. Not more than that. That's where it is. And micro loan, I was just explaining, the new RBI regulation is in the annual. I'm sure it will also do something like that.
Right. Okay, I think that's.
Net margin is good. I think there's no reason for complaining.
Okay. Cool. And just last question on the expansion in geographies. Are we going to expand in next year now, or I think in quarter 4 we're not going to expand into the new states? But what's the plan for the new year or the next year?
So in microfinance, we want to expand, but it is only in the contiguous states. We went to Bihar in last financial year, and we want to go to the eastern part of UP. We want to go to Chhattisgarh because we are in MP. We want to go to Chhattisgarh. That's pretty much about it, because we still have a lot of work to do in MP, Bihar, and Chhattisgarh and eastern UP. So, and our existing large states, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, we are doing touchwood very well. So we'll continue expanding there.
Okay. Yeah, good. I think that's it from me. If I have any questions, I'll come back in June. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Next question is from the line of Akhil Arora, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, hi sir. Hi, thanks for the opportunity. So just a couple of questions. I think first one is on microfinance disbursements. If I remember correctly, during the last call, you indicated that in the month of October, the disbursements have been around 26 crores, and the overall quarterly disbursements are 30 odd crores. So can you give us an understanding as to how the disbursements were in November and December, or why was a slowdown? Yeah.
You're absolutely right. In fact, there was this second wave of COVID and all that. Post Onam, if you are familiar with the festivals, in Kerala there was a second wave. So we kind of slowed down immediately. And that's the reason you see that in Q3, our total disbursements in microfinance has been about 30 crores. So we slowed down in third quarter because of the second wave fear.
Okay.
And now in January we have done 25 crores. February we should be doing around 40, and God willing, no further issues on the COVID front. We should do about 50, 60 in March.
Okay.
Whatever we have done in Q3, we have already done. As we are speaking to you, we have already crossed that in these 45 days.
Okay, that's good to hear. And now I think you also indicated that salary base or the salary levels were reinstated as per pre-COVID levels. So whatever impact we are seeing in this quarter, that was the normal run rate on employee cost front, and once we have a higher disbursement this year, hopefully that will help us increase the net profit in the quarter.
You're absolutely right. We have done a lot of cost restructuring in microfinance also. So there will be some cost savings also. We have done. All that we have done. So, God willing, all that will reflect. Yes.
Okay, perfect. And what's the update on the Boonbox transaction? Is it going to close this month, or what's the update?
Yes, it should. In fact, we have been working on all the approvals, and I think, all the GST, all approvals, yes, all of them have come, and I think we are very hopeful of closing within the next few days.
Okay, that's good to hear. And so that will work very closely with Suresh Kumar's team of Accelerator, right? That's the plan, or how are you looking at both of them together for next 1 or 2 years?
No. I think, let me just take 1 minute and explain. What Boonbox does is physical goods, electronics predominantly, household goods and all that. They provide these to the microfinance customers, not only our microfinance. They work with about 7, 8 already, and they are planning to expand it to about 15 large microfinance companies. They work with these companies and provide goods to their customers.
Okay.
So this is Boonbox. They are last mile rural. That's what they do. Whereas Suresh is in the financial services space. So for Suresh, he tries to meet all the financial needs of the customers. Let's say an MSME sitting in Coimbatore needs a loan. Suresh will arrange the loan for that customer. He will handhold the customer, do whatever is necessary, and get the loan. Now that loan may come from IndiTrade, may come from any other NBFC. Just to tell you, IndiTrade share will not be even 5% of Suresh's business as things stand today.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is how it is. So now just give an example. Tomorrow we have just tied up with Muthoot now for gold loan. Now anybody wanting a gold loan, Suresh will help that. Anybody wanting a health loan, Suresh will facilitate that. Anybody wanting a personal loan, Suresh will facilitate that. So this is hardcore financial services. And Boonbox has nothing to do with financial services. It piggybacks on financial services.
Okay. And if my understanding is correct, both these businesses are clubbed together in IndiTrade Derivatives and Commodities Limited, or they would be in different?
They're in different companies.
Okay.
We call IndiTrade Scalerator, where Suresh's business is. It's IndiTrade Scalerator Limited. This is an independent company. And
okay.
Boonbox business will come in, you're right, IndiTrade Derivatives, which the name has changed now to IndiTrade Rural Marketing Limited.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Independent. See, we will maintain, all our businesses are, as you know, housed in independent companies. They are led by individual CEOs or business heads, as the case may be. That's how it is run, so that there is a clear SBU concept and performance monitoring.
Okay. And sir, this question is regarding the micro lending business. I'm not sure if it has been discussed. I had to, I was not there in the entire duration of the call. This micro lending business has brought a lot of bad name for our company, and there have been talks of regularly from external parties of banning entities who are involved in these things, and the name of our company creeps up on a regular basis. So what's the update now? have we been contacted with regulatory bodies with regard to the way we are running these operations, or are there pressures for us to curtail this down significantly, or probably even continue that going forward? If you can provide an update, that would be helpful.
So I think the first thing I will say, to my knowledge, our name hasn't come in a negative manner. At least I am not aware. Of course, this entire segment has got a bad name because of what is happening. Unfortunately, we can't do much about it. As I said, we are hoping that RBI regulations comes. The sooner the better. You see, the real problem is people without a license, NBFC license, created an app and started lending directly, which is completely illegal in this country. And that created all this problem. But anyway, that's not my lookout to comment on that. What other people did, as far as we are concerned, we are complying to the last full stop, semicolon, comma. We are in regular touch dialogue with RBI. I don't want to tell in this public call, but we are wherever possible giving them inputs, sharing our views. There are calls happening at different levels to kind of give a feedback on what the industry should get and should not do. We like to play a role in framing the regulations, right regulations. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
Yes, we are also impacted, because what happens is so many cases the customers who are not in a position to pay are using that excuse and creating havoc. So many people are telling us, we will not pay, you are a Chinese company. We said, we don't know. We know that China is in map. Beyond that, we have nothing to do with China. Here is our certificate. We are an Indian company. Everything is Indian. But this is a nuisance. We all are living with. This is the reason why I have slowed down. And probably we would have dissociated with this digital lending partner sometime later. But we said, let's get out of all this and move everything in-house.
Because I think as we speak, our Roboc app is still not there on Play Store, and I think that would...
Yeah, I tell you, this is an unfortunate thing. See, Google has a process, so they started a process of re-verifying everything. So they have asked for our certificates, which we have given them. Now, apparently Google US timing, there is some 5-6 days lag between it getting out and coming in. There's nothing you can do. There's no way to speak in Google. Anyway, this is part of the process. I would say we can't help it.
Yeah. Okay. But at least it's good to hear that we are following all the rules of the land, and we should come out stronger out of this. And so lastly, we will be curtailing down this micro lending book, and other books still give us a lot of runway in terms of like a balance sheet. We have a strong solvency ratio and a better clarity of the impact that COVID is going to have on our books and the operations going forward. So how, I think we have a lot of excess cash that can ideally be used in dividends, or I'm not sure if we can do buybacks because of the debt to equity ratios. Probably you can clarify that. Do we have any plans to go through either of the routes to pay the excess cash that we have on the books?
Well, I think for an NBFC, there is no concept of excess cash. I think as shareholders, you will appreciate if we deploy more in business, like all our friends here have been suggesting and talking. So my thought will be to, as things improve, to deploy more and more in the right businesses so that the company becomes more and more profitable and builds a large book. That's point number one. Point number two, the year before, when the situation was normal, we did give dividend. And when things normalize, we will definitely love to give dividend to the shareholders. But I think it's a little too premature, very honestly. We will have to review it when things improve.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough, sir. Thank you for that background. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Nikhil Ahuja, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. I was a bit late to the call. Can you give revenue breakup for the segments? Like if I see micro lending, we have around 96 crore of GLP and the interest income is quite high. Can you elaborate on that front?
So I just didn't understand the question. Can you speak a little slowly?
I just want revenue breakup. So the GLP of micro lending is around 96 crore. And if I'm not wrong, the interest income is 55 crore on that. Can you elaborate on that front?
No. See, no. I think you have to understand. See, 96 crore is the AUM on a particular date. While I was discussing, and I think it's in the presentation also, the total disbursement is much higher. And these are 15-day loans. So please don't link with 96 crore. 96 crore is the loan balance as on 31st December. Now that's got nothing to do with the revenue. You keep disbursing loans and keep earning revenue. So these two figures are not related. The one you are trying to relate. Micro lending segment has a higher interest compared to microfinance because there are everything is on digital and there are defaults in this segment. You factor in that. That's the reason why these unsecured loans carry a higher interest. Now, we can keep discussing what is right, what is wrong. We are all familiar with credit cards. Credit card overdues, they attract 36% interest. And they have been attracting 36% for last, I think, 30-40 years. Now, whether it's right, I don't know. Whether it's wrong, I don't know, and I don't want to comment also on that. This segment, I can tell you, having run this, the default rates are anywhere between 10 to 15%. If there is a 10 to 15% default and you are doing business, obviously interest rate has to be higher to ensure that the business survives. If you ask me, are we doing something wrong by charging higher interest? I don't think so. Because these people will not get interest loan from anybody else. Only this segment will lend to them. The other option for them is money lender. And the practices they follow are terrible. We all know that. Yeah. So I don't think there is a problem. The entire segment, and as we all are discussing, got into a problem because of this, unnecessarily aggressive recovery practices, which is unwarranted. I have been running these businesses for quite some time. We have seen this getting played out in microfinance. The moment their discipline comes in the industry, like microfinance, there is no aggressive collection practice. There is, if you don't pay, we have to necessarily upload the information to all the credit bureaus, 4 credit bureaus, and the borrower will not get the next loan. Remember, it's different from you and me. We don't need fresh loans every day, but these people need. It is not a lifestyle loan for them. It is a livelihood loan for them. So they fall in line when they realize that there is a default. They will not get next loan. And that's what the industry should do. We do that. Half of our complaints on the micro loan segment is because why you have declared as defaulter with the credit bureau, we are not getting next loan. This is how it should be. Anyway, let's hope the regulation comes and it gets better regulated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Weber Facholia from VK Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Regarding the micro loans business, I wanted to understand. So, again, the loans are for a 15 days period, sir, largely?
Yeah, see, there are 30-day loans, there are 15-day loans, and there are extensions. So, we are comfortable if the customer takes extension, and the extension can go up to 3 months also.
Okay. And so, sir, in this quarter, suppose we disbursed around 30 crores. So, that would be like 30,000 customers approximately?
No, I didn't say 30 crore figure. Yeah, you're talking about past or future?
No, this quarter we disbursed some 33 crores loans in micro loans.
Okay.
So the total AUM is coming to, I think, some 90 crores something. And sir, this is done through Facebook and all these digital channels, the acquisition?
Yeah, Facebook, Google, Netcore, Visual, all kind of.
Okay. So, sir, our acquisition cost is more than the interest which we recover from these customers? You said the acquisition cost is some 1,000 or 1,500 rupees per customer, right?
No. It is slightly different. See, what happens is this economics, I think we need to sit separately and discuss.
Yeah.
When you acquire a customer, let's say you are my customer.
Yeah.
No, the first time I need to attract you through some Facebook, Google, maybe, in another business they have put an advertisement in Times of India. So that's how you know there is a service available.
Okay, got it.
My customer, in this business, just the dynamics is such that the first time a customer takes a loan, you don't make money.
Okay, got it.
Only when the customer becomes your regular customer, he keeps regularly taking loans, repaying, and that's what happens. In RoboCash book, I think, if I remember rightly, about 70% is my repeat customer. They are my existing customers. Now they will only take loan from me.
Okay, got it.
The business, the first time, I think, why this, any business, every business, for customer acquisition cost is very high today, in this country, in everywhere. But the customer retention is the whole game. If you are able to retain the customer once you have acquired, you start making money from the customer.
So, sir, do we have any estimate of the lifetime value of the customer to us?
No, we don't have a lifetime estimate at this stage because, we are still new. Maybe 1 year down the line, we will be able to do that. Some models are there, trying to work on that. But the reality is, the customer takes the second loan, we start making small money. Because second loan has no acquisition cost attached to it. We start making money. Third loan, fourth loan, we start making more and more money. That's it.
Got it, sir. Got it. Perfect. And sir, the customer acquisition cost is how much approximately per customer?
It's about 10% of the loan amount. That's what it works out to roughly.
Oh, okay, got that. Perfect. And sir, on a macro basis, to what level is our target to scale our overall book, all 4 segments put together over the next maybe 2-3 years or 4-5 years, whatever?
Yeah, at this stage with this COVID and all that, it's very difficult. Normal course, I would have given a ballpark prediction, but I think next quarter you ask me this question. By that time, hopefully, we would have taken all the vaccines and we are in a better position to discuss the future.
So, maybe, sir, 15-20% kind of growth in normal circumstances, if COVID is not there?
Aram.
Right, got that. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next question is a follow-up from the line of Dubirex, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir.
For you don't have to ask.
Okay, sir.
Q2, their income was 45 lakhs.
Okay, sir.
And Q3, their income is 74 lakhs.
Okay, sir. So, what is the shareholding in the RoboCash venture, sir, currently?
This is 100% ours. It is the part of IndiTrade FinCorp. This is 100%. RoboCash is the brand.
Yes, sir. Okay. Initially, it was a joint venture, something like that, sir. Now it's 100%.
Joint venture and all that, but that didn't happen. So we have used their technology platform. That's what we do. It's our business.
Okay. So just a request, sir. Going forward, maybe could you put some slides on half a slide or one slide on the Scalator business and on RoboCash separately, or the microloan breakup of RoboCash and other non-RoboCash, and also maybe.
Scalator will do, put a slide. We'll start. In fact, our plan is to start putting that slide from next quarter. Boombox will come the following quarter. And we were carrying the breakups, and I explained the breakup between RoboCash and digital anyway, but I'll put a slide. In the slide also I'll put.
And also, is it possible to give the interest income breakup, sir? Because the AUM may not be a correct thing for the micro lending. So if you can have the interest income for the quarter for the 4 segments, that will be helpful, sir. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. All the best.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, we have another question which we'll take, which is from the line of Rajesh Kumar, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm invested in IndiCap for last 3 years, and I've been following all the con calls. And I have few suggestions to improve the investor presentation. One is okay, now from the for this quarter, specifically, if you say total comprehensive income is hello, it's audible, sir?
Yeah, it's audible.
Yeah. We made 2.79 crore of comprehensive income, and shareholders got 1.76. That means works out to around 64%. So how this okay, micro lending makes 1 crore profit. How much it will come to IndiTrade Capital? So that like that, all 4 lending verticals, if we can show it like a flowchart like structure, then we get a better idea of how the.
No. I think you're talking about different things. You're talking about promoter and non-promoter breakup. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that is one thing. Yeah. So that we can get from the profit and loss statement. But what I cannot make out is how, okay, micro lending makes 1 crore. Now I understood that we hold 100%. Same way microfinance, if it makes 1 crore, how much is coming to IndiTrade Capital? Like that, a flowchart like structure, economic interest of IndiTrade Capital in each of the subsidiaries, lending subsidiaries, I mean.
Okay, we'll put a chart.
Yeah. Second one suggestion is, sir, if we can include net worth and book value, like to understand the intrinsic value of the company. I think in one of the.
We have given it. In fact, you open that debt equity slide, solvency ratio slide. It has got.
Okay. I will look at that. And then just to
is 197 crore. It is a net worth of 197 crore.
Okay, 197 crore. And the consolidated book value, is it specified somewhere?
So, consolidated book value divide by that. You can divide and get it, but we'll do it.
Okay, divide by the equity. Okay, I got it, sir. Yeah, okay. Now, like a few return ratios, if you can include the presentation to just get to know how effectively each quarter on quarter our return ratios are changing, like return of assets, return of equity, and return of capital employed.
Okay.
Yeah, and then next one is NIM for each of the segment that many participants are asking. Each of the lending segment, you are showing in a vertical column the NPS. So alongside, if you can add one more line with NIM for each segment, it will be grateful for us.
Okay.
Yeah, and then customer base of micro lending. That microfinance, you are reporting like 2.45 lakhs customers of late. And this micro lending also, if you can include that, it will be great, sir.
I'll tell you why. Anyway, we'll do that, but it is meaningless to an extent. Because see, microfinance customers stays with us for, first time they stay with us for 1 year. Then the next loan they take from us, that is for 2 years.
Okay.
It's a long-term relationship, whereas for micro, it is not really that. But anyway, we'll see. Next.
Yeah. So I did some calculation to see why the net profit is following the turnover. Please correct if my calculation is correct. So for 9-month period pre-COVID, like financial year 2020, ending December, that period, we did top line of 93 crore for 9 months and profit before tax of 16.7 crore. That way our PBT margin is 18%. And for this year's 9-month period, you reported PBT of 12.4 crore. And if we include a COVID provisioning of 16.2 crore, if we assume that there was no COVID, can we safely assume that this 16.2 crore also would have flown to the PBT, like making it 28.6 crore as the total PBT?
I will still like you to be conservative, and let's say maybe 20% of the provision would have been required anyway.
Okay, understood, sir. Okay.
But so 3-4 crores, yes.
Okay. So my doubt is our pre-COVID level PBT margin was around 18%. Can we, in future, once we become more leaner, like once our borrowing costs come down and all, can we expect to get back to those 18% PBT margin level?
God willing, we should do better.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, sir. Thanks. And this quarter 3, I think quarter 2 we made around more than 7 crore provision. Quarter 2 and quarter 3 it came down to 5.6 crore. So how early you expect this COVID provisioning to come down to nil level?
Well, I think hopefully by next quarter we should, depending on the scenario. I really don't know because the COVID thing, and we see that things have kind of normalized. We should.
Yeah. Okay.
Difficult for me to answer. I mean, I would say that, but we would like to get out of that quickly.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So now our debt equity is very low level at less than 0.9. So many NBFCs, they go up to 5 times. So we have plans to future to increase the...
No. We were never, and we will never go to that 5 time and all that. I think maximum 2 times, that's all, not more than that.
Okay, understood. So, okay, understood, sir. And congratulate the promoters being so transparent to answer all the shareholders' queries and also the open market purchase done in the last quarter to increase so that leave us a lot of confidence as to hold the value of the company.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next question is a follow-up from the line of Vaibhav Kacholia from VK Capital. Please go ahead.
Sir, I wanted to know who is the competition which we come across in the micro loans business?
Well, there is early salary. I will like to only talk about the established and credible players. So
yeah.
There is early salary, there is money tap, there is capital float. So I would say early salary will be our nearest competitor.
Okay, and this is all digital, sir?
Yeah, they are digital, yes. And
so we don't actually talk to the customer as such?
No. See, there is a system of a KYC. During the KYC, the customer is spoken to, but entire process, everything is digital.
Okay, right. And do we come across names like Bajaj Finance and all, sir?
Bajaj Finance is not in the segment where we are. This is not our segment. They are in a different segment.
Okay, got that. Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. As there are no further questions, I now hand the conference over to Mr. Bandyopadhyay for closing remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for joining and asking all the questions. I hope we have been able to clarify and help you. We want to be extremely transparent and clear with our investors, market, regulators, and we will maintain that. Thank you for all the support and wishes and advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, members of management. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of IndiTrade Capital Limited, that concludes today's conference. Thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.